Time now for MediaWatch. MediaWatch means James Creedon. How are you, sir?
Not too bad, Mark.
Okay, good to see you. We're starting with the continuing reaction to the deportation of a Roma schoolgirl from France to Kosovo. This, of course, 15-year-old Leonarda.
That's right.
Taken from a school bus, as I understand, in front of her friends, carted off in tears for deportation.
That's right. And basically the President, François Hollande, spoke on Saturday to address a lot of the comments about this. Libération, for example, the left-leaning newspaper, had headlined on Friday saying, explain yourself, Mr. President. In other words, you've remained silent on this massive media story. We want to hear from you. So he actually obliged. He spoke out on Saturday and he said that she could come back to France, but not with her family. In any case, the media went straight away to Leonarda, the girl who you see here on screen. There was a media scrum around her in Kosovo. And a lot of people in the government afterwards, including Manuel Valls, the Interior Minister, who has been the target of most of the criticisms, in fact, for taking too strong a line on deportations and stuff like that in the eyes of the left wing. He spoke this morning on radio, Europe 1 radio, saying it is ridiculous that Leonarda was given almost equivalent treatment in the media as the President. The President spoke straight away afterwards. You go to Leonarda. Now, some would say it's just journalists doing their job, and of course they're going to go, she's at the centre of this media storm, etc. But from his point of view, they shouldn't be given equivalent treatment. A quick look at some of the front pages this morning. For Le Figaro, Hollande's management of this has been a fiasco. They say that, on the one hand, she's allowed to come back, but not her family. And in fact, it's a sort of what would you say? He's not really making any clear decision on it or taking a strong stand.
He's neither said, yes, we're right to deport them so they all stay, or no, actually we made a mistake, let's bring them back. It's right sitting on the fence, but providing an option which isn't workable either way, is it?
That's right. And in fact, that's a right-leaning paper, Le Figaro. Let's have a look at the communist paper, L'Humanité. They're not happy either with the way this has been dealt with, saying that, in fact, it's an inhuman form of blackmail that François Hollande proffered, making the 15-year-old girl choose between her family, i.e. staying with her family in Kosovo, who wouldn't be allowed to join her if she were to come back to France, or her studies. There you go, Mark. So it's one that's continuing to divide people. A quick tweet to sum it up by the French comedian Stéphane Guillon. He's saying maybe Hollande could have offered Leonarda, that she'd spend a week in France, a week back in Kosovo. He was basically comparing it to joint custody in a divorce. In other words, nobody's really happy with the decision he came up with.
Indeed. It's nearly funny, but
yeah,
it's too tragic a situation for it to actually be funny, isn't it? But there you go.
But trust Stéphane Guillon to make a joke about it anyway.
Indeed. French humour.
Right.
How to kiss a stranger in 10 seconds. James Creedon, the things you bring to us. Right. This experiment has caused a lot of controversy in the French media.
Yes. All right, let's take a look at these pictures. He's a radio DJ by the name of Guillaume Play. I think I've pronounced that correctly, for French radio station NRJ. Now, what he did is he set himself a challenge that in under 10 seconds he could kiss basically any girl. 3 questions he was going to ask. Are you single? Are you into me? And why won't you kiss me? Now, this was following a similar, experiment in the US. That video, Mark, has had 2 million views since last Wednesday, so everybody's looking at it. Let's have a look on the computer, because some are not happy with what he's done. They're saying, actually, hold on, let's have a look at an extract first, and then I'll illustrate why people aren't happy.
Je sais pas, tu me trouves comment? Ça va. Ah, pourquoi tu m'embrasses pas?
Parce que j'ai un copain, quoi.
Bah, c'est pas grave, un petit bisou, on s'en fiche.
Comment ça, un petit bisou?
Ah, fais-moi un petit bisou sur la joue, alors.
Sur la joue? Sur la joue, là. Mais...
Je peux te poser 3 questions?
I mean, you can see she was kind of running away at the end there. So
I can think of many places where he might have been beaten up for doing that.
Right. And in any case, let's take a look at what one Girlie magazine said, mademoiselle.com, basically that this is almost crossing a border into sexual harassment.
Well, certainly the way he was approaching that first one looked clearly.
Yeah.
She didn't want those advances, and he forced himself onto her in that sense.
That's right. And he lied as well about what his intentions were. So there you go. A lot of people talking about that in the media today.
Okay, another little French quirk there, which perhaps most of us don't quite see the point of. Finally, the President of the European Council, one Herman Van Rompuy, as you know, clashed with British Twitter users earlier today. Why? What upset Mr. Van Rompuy?
He was trying to do one of these PR things, Mark, where, I'm here to answer your questions on Twitter. So let's take a look at what some people were. He said, look, welcome to this Twitter Q&A on innovation. I'm answering all your questions. Basically, British Twitter users would not stop asking him, who elected you? How can you claim to speak for me? Do you think that you do your job any differently if you were accountable to an electorate? Who elected you? I don't recall seeing your name on a ballot paper, etc., etc. When are the EU accounts being signed off? Basically, these exercises are very dangerous for politicians because you're totally exposed to whatever the public wants to ask. And British people sometimes aren't very fond of people like Herman Van Rompuy.
Mr. Van Rompuy finding that democracy does have a bitter aftertaste. There we go. James Creedon, as ever, thank you very much for MediaWatch. James Creedon there, thank you very much indeed. Thank you, James. We're taking a very, very short break. After that, we're back with another world news update. And we'll be turning our eye, of course, on Africa, the latest from that continent. Stay with us.